Welcome. I'm Molly Ware, and I'm in the Department of Secondary Education in the Woodring College of Education at Western Washington University. And I'm here today with one of our Chilean exchange students, Alvaro Habert,
Hmm.
and we're going to both introduce ourselves and then talk a little bit about his experiences at Western Washington University. So, Alvaro, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Alvaro Habert. I am from Chile. I'm 23 years old. Um, I'm here because scholarship I got in my country, and then the Western Washington University and my university go to an agreement, and then I'm so glad to be here. It's been such a wonderful experience. I have learned a lot from this place, and yeah.
And you studied here for the whole winter quarter,
I
or
was
the
here
fall
for the fall
quarter.
quarter. Yes,
Yes, yeah,
yes.
nice.
I arrived here in September 21st,
Hmm.
and yes,
And then you'll stay for another day before you go and
yes. Before I go
experience
home.
more of the United States before
Yes,
traveling home.
yes, that's right. I'm going around the states before going home.
Nice.
Hmm.
Well, and Alvaro, it was a real pleasure to get to meet you when Rosalie and I were in Chile. We came to Chile. When were we there? Last year sometime.
Hmm.
Do you remember when we came?
Oh no, it was before
It
Javier
was before Javier
came
came,
here. Yes.
yeah, and prior to that, several of your professors and your dean came and visited Woodring, and
Hmm.
that began our partnership work together.
Uh-huh.
And we took them around to different schools in the community, and they met with different faculty on campus who shared special projects that they're doing, and began generating ideas for cross-cultural collaboration. And then Rosalie and I were granted a scholarship or a grant from the International Studies program on campus and from the College of Education that allowed us to visit your university,
Hmm.
which is
La Universidad Católica de Temuco.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so we were there, and we got to meet with many of the professors in a variety of areas, and do some initial brainstorming on opportunities to do student exchanges as well as opportunities to do faculty exchanges. And so
Hmm.
this is one step in that
Yes.
direction, having you here with us.
Yeah, and I'm so glad to be here, as I told you before. Since the very first moment I came here, I felt so supported
Hmm.
by the professors here and also by the Department of Exchange students.
Hmm.
Dr. Bruce was very, very nice to us all the time. He was always keeping in like informed of
Mm-hmm.
all the activities there were for exchange students. So
Mm-hmm.
you have a very good program.
Beautiful. So you
Yes.
felt like you had some support in learning to navigate all the cultural differences
Yes,
and
yes.
the new
Well,
system.
the cultural differences were like, um, from my point of view, they weren't like big ones. Even though,
Mm-hmm.
I have to say here, you have a lot of resources at schools, at
Mm-hmm.
universities that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I have learned a lot of that. I have learned how to use those resources that we don't have. And
Mm-hmm.
then once we have them, I can start using them
Mm-hmm.
back home.
What are some examples of the resources here that you
Um,
don't experience it?
you have like a lot of literature focused
Mm.
on education itself
Mm-hmm.
and methodologies that we don't know there,
Mm-hmm.
and they will be useful because
Mm-hmm.
to we're going through a process in my country where the educational system is changing,
Mm-hmm.
and then we need new knowledge about education.
Mm.
So that's why I'm so glad to have the opportunity to come here.
Mm. Beautiful. I'm wondering, so we, in building your schedule and thinking about what experiences might be helpful, wanted you to have an opportunity to be in schools in the United
Yes.
States. And so um, one of your classes was a class attached to a high school practicum,
Hmm.
and you got to be at a local high school, Windward High School.
Yes.
And another class was a class that had a small group teaching experience. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about when you think about Chile and the changing educational system and the classes that you took here?
Hmm.
how do you see those connecting?
Well, there's like a big difference in the way we have education in, for example, in high school in my country, because here you choose what you want to learn, and that's something we don't have. In my country, we have a curriculum, like all the students have to take the same classes, the same courses, which is, and then some of them can choose elective courses, but it's not like something they really promote. And here they have the opportunity to decide what language they want to learn, what subjects they want to focus on. And that's great.
Hmm. I'm curious, as a teacher who's going to be working, I'm assuming you'll work in Chile.
Mhm.
Is that where you imagine you'll
Yes.
work? Okay. So, what are some of the new ideas or the improvements that you've seen yourself making in your teaching that you look forward to taking back with you into Chilean schools and work with Chilean students?
Well, here here we were working with SIOP, which is a very nice material. I learned how to plan a class based on um, the opportunities and to build background in students. There's something that sometimes we don't take into account, and
Building
for
on their background
yes,
experiences and knowledge.
yes, that's right. Because sometimes I think we have considered that um, in this case for my subject, English language learners, it's they just, for example, a situation I had at Ware, there was one student who was learning English because she has been here in the United States only for a couple of months, and then she was just learning English. But I think a new methodology that I learned here is that they started teaching her like all the subjects of the school, obviously in English, and then I think it was very meaningful for her to use the language and not to learn it just for learning English, but use learning English through using it in her classes, and that's one thing I think I consider very important, like making activities meaningful back home, not just teaching language, but teaching it for some reason.
And so by her having an opportunity to experience
Yes,
those other subjects
that's right.
through a new language.
Yeah, and that's where I also where I felt here in my experience because of the immersion.
Right.
Being here has, I think, has given me the opportunity to improve my language skills in some aspect, and in the other pedagogical aspect has been very good too.
What what could we most learn from Chilean schools?
Chilean schools are very structured. They're very organized in their system. What we can learn from them is like the consistency they have, even though they sometimes they cannot like have the opportunity to choose, but what they have to study or what they have to learn, they learn it good. We have very good students in Chile.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, you got to work both with students in schools and then also beginning teachers in one of your classes that were your colleagues. What similarities or differences or what surprised you about your work with those two groups of people?
You mean here in class or at school?
Yeah, both.
Oh, here at Dr. Wing's class, I got to know a lot of students that are becoming teachers too, and then I could see like we have almost the same questions, like how to teach, how to make it go, how to like get the students learn what you want to, what the goals, the objectives you have for your class, and then you start wondering about methodologies and strategies, and then how to implement them in a good way or something. Yeah.
Nice.
And at school I also had like the opportunity to deal with, uh, which was at the beginning it was kind of difficult, but then it wasn't anymore. Like when I had to deal with a class of English native speakers, and that was totally
Huh.
different to what I'm used to.
Yeah.
But it was a challenge that
Mm.
I took, and I'm so glad I did it because
Mm.
at the end of this quarter I could teach a very nice class, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I really appreciate that Dr. Wins went to see me too,
Mm.
so then she could give me feedback, and that's something that it's very important here, and I can tell feedback. It's always like a very important tool that sometimes we don't use it in my country.
Mm-hmm.
Like after the post evaluation process,
Mm.
when you say, okay, you were wrong in this is where I have to tell you, and
Mm.
then we don't do that all the time. We just have tests,
I
and then
see.
you know if it was wrong and right, but
Mhm.
you don't get that.
So
all
it's
the
harder
time.
to improve along the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, what else? Is there something else that stands out about your time here that you'd like to share with others who might do this work in the future, who might come to Western Washington University or
Well,
Woodring?
the environment here in this university is beautiful.
Mm.
I have had a great time here. People here are very friendly all the time.
Mm.
You feel comfortable taking the bus, going downtown,
Mhm.
going to around the city. It's very nice. For people who is coming, I can say that the place you chose for international students like Birnamwood, it's perfect. You get to know a lot of people there. You get to know a lot of people from all over the world, which is great.
And Burnham Wood is where you lived.
Yeah,
You
that's
had
where I live.
roommates?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So the dorms of this university are very comfortable.
Mhm.
They give you, and they yeah, they give you all the facilities you need to study. You have a lot of resources here, like the library here. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
I really like it. I had a good time there studying.
Well, that was something that surprised me in Chile when we met with your professors, is they told us that it was so difficult to get books.
Yes, yes.
And that was one of the most valuable things, was to have books. Why was that again?
Oh,
Remember?
in my country we have like taxes and fees they
That's
have on
right.
books, and
Right.
they are very expensive.
Mhm.
But and they don't used to sell like used books like here.
Mhm.
But um yeah, it's something I can tell too. Here books are very cheap in comparison of my country.
Do you have a suitcase full of books to take
Yes,
back?
yes, I have a full of my luggage is full of materials like photocopies of materials I got from school, and then books I could bought here from Amazon, and all the beautiful resources you have. It's so nice.
That's funny. The other thing that I think was very noticeable is when we came to Chile, where you live in Temuco is very beautiful and very similar
Yes.
to this place.
Yes, you're right. The weather is so similar. That's
Green
why
and the
yes.
rain and
Yeah, we have like a lot of green and rain all the time. It's very wet like here.
Mhm.
But yeah, and so then that's why I think I didn't feel like so shocked when I came here. Yeah, and people in my city too are very friendly. So I felt like if I was home all the time.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's nice.
Now, Javier was here first. He was
Yeah.
another Chilean exchange student. How did he help to make your transition to coming to the United States easier?
Actually, he made it very easier for me because he wrote notes about everything, like from the moment I landed to Bellingham until the moment I'm gonna live here. So he made notes and tips for bus schedules, everything, the bus numbers, where to go, um, the the departments I have to go when I come here because of all the orientation process, and everything was there. So I'm so glad he did that. And then I'm going to add some information for the next
Oh,
ones
good.
to come. Yeah.
You're updating the guide.
Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Or are there any questions that you'd like to ask when you think about people who might be watching this video who would consider coming to Western as exchange students, or anything else you'd like to share?
Oh, Western Washington University. It's like the place where they have to go. This is the place where you have to come. You have a very good time here. You don't feel confused about anything because people here make sure you have everything you need. So just come here and don't worry about anything. You have the best professors. You have like a lot of good a lot of things you might need. Everything.
Well, that's humbling.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm
I
grateful
can
that
tell.
was your experience.
Yes. I'm so glad to
Excellent.
have come here.